Hi, I'm Elise Southwell and welcome to my hometown, New York City. I'm 32 years old. I'm the founder of HomeCookNYC. I am a home cook and I'm a home cooking enthusiast, self-proclaimed of course. We're here at Chelsea Market and we're going to pick up some ingredients for our dinner. We're making a fig and cranberry balsamic chicken, so let's go inside and see what they have. Chelsea Market opened about 15 years ago, and this is definitely the place to buy all of your produce. Hard to reach out of season things. That's my first apartment, 190 square foot palace. So now that we have our vegetables, we're gonna head over to Greenwich Village and we're gonna go to Faico's, the best butcher in the city, to pick up our chicken. Ones, you could just cut them in half. Hi, welcome to Chez Southwell. So now that we have all of our ingredients, we're gonna come inside, cook the meal, but let me give you a tour first. This is the only apartment in New York that has a few really special things, so I wanna give you a little tour. We have a wine cellar, a garden, and a huge pantry. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is our wine cellar. I mean, who knew that you could keep wine and sneakers all at the same temperature? But it works, this is New York. Here we have our garden. It's great. You can see a basil plant, a thyme plant, a dill plant. This is the first apartment that I've ever actually had a windowsill, so I'm taking full advantage. So last but not least, we're here in the hallway next to the kitchen, and I'm going to show you my giant pantry. Let's take a look. I mean, seriously, where in New York can you get something like that? Now, it's a coat closet, but don't tell anybody. It's close to the kitchen, so it's good enough. So here we are in my kitchen. This is a typical galley kitchen, very typical of Manhattan apartments. So let's get started preparing our food. We're going to brine the chicken, chop the vegetables, and we're going to get everything ready here. So most people define themselves by being a certain type of cook. Maybe they're a Chinese cook, maybe they cook organic, vegetarian food. I think for me, I cook European comfort food. Most of my recipes are passed down family recipes, Italian-American recipes that I've modernized. And also I have a lot of influence from my husband's British culture, as well as some French, and the list goes on and on. They are warm, hearty, easy to make, comforting foods that anybody could do. It's really, honestly, it's not fancy at all. So growing up Italian-American, I always, which is pretty typical of Italian-American families, my mom was always cooking in the kitchen, whether she was making big elaborate holiday meals, quick and easy weeknight things. It was always a big part of our lives. My parents, they weren't overly affectionate, loving sort of people to each other, but at the end of each night, we always had a delicious, warm, comforting food to come home to, and it was great. So that was a huge influence on my life. And then when I was a little girl, I spent so much of my time making things. I loved to make things, whether that was making a charcoal painting, an oil painting, whether I was sewing my clothes, and always, always cooking beside my mother. So while the chicken is brining, we're gonna start to prepare the cranberry sauce, which is really easy. We're just gonna mix some whole fresh cranberries, some water, and some sugar. So let's get the orange juice. So it's about a half a cup of orange juice for the sauce. We're going to put some water in there. Sugar, about a cup of sugar. And we're going to take a whisk. We're going to bring that to a boil. Once it's boiled, we're going to add the cranberries, the whole cranberries. Turn down the heat and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. So while that is coming to a boil, we can chop our garlic and onions, which we're going to saute in the pan after we've seared the chicken once it comes out of the brine. When I was in high school, while most of the kids were going to the mall or to the football games, I was hosting international food parties at my parents' house, which was so ridiculous. I mean, a 15-year-old girl having food dinner parties in her parents' kitchen, which really was just a fancier way of saying I invited all my girlfriends over and I asked them to bring a dish from their culture. So maybe we would have a kosher noodle kugel, a Chinese roast pork, maybe I would make a stuffed shells, and it was fabulous. And when we were doing this, it was funny. I think they were entertaining me because at the same time, I had a food column for my high school newspaper called Tastes Like Butter, named after, I should say, Barbara Streisand's It's Like Butter coffee talk skit from SNL. So, and it was really fun. So here's my girlfriends were, knowing I had the food column, entertaining these food parties, and everybody went with it and had a really great time. It was totally, totally fun. So we put the cranberries into the sauce. Now it's time to take the chicken out of the brine and we're going to start to sear it. So you want to make sure when you take the chicken out of the brine, you get all the water off and you're able to pat it really, really nice and dry. The reason for that is because when you sear it, you want the oil to be really hot and it won't form a crust or sear properly if the chicken is wet. So we're just going to dry it up a little bit. I'm going to turn around, turn our Dutch oven on. We're going to use a sunflower oil to sear the chicken. The reason for, I usually cook with olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, but the reason why you want to cook with sunflower oil or canola oil or peanut oil is because it has a really high smoke point. So it'll make the meat sear much nicer. So once we have our dried chicken pieces, we want to sprinkle it with some salt and pepper to give it a little flavor. So it will taste like something other than just plain old chicken when it's searing. After high school, I went to college, and when I was in college, right when I was a freshman, my parents got divorced. My dad left the family. It was kind of really a sad time. My aunt passed away in 9/11, and that was also really sad. And I just didn't know what I was going to do. Of course, there I was in college trying to live it up as a freshman, but you know, I knew I really wanted to get out of there. I knew I wanted to do something. So I decided I was going to study abroad in Italy. So I packed my bags. I moved to Rome. I did study abroad with American University there, and it was so much fun. It was great. I mean, being Italian-American, but doing the Italian thing in Rome at 18, 19 years old was indescribable. The food, the people, seeing how they incorporate the food into their life. It was just really so, so special. I lived with 5 American girls, and every night each of us took turns cooking meals for everybody. It was so fun. I mean, I don't even know what kind of food we made, but the fact is that it reminded me of the family food togetherness that I had when I was growing up. So shortly after study abroad was over, it was about a 6-month run, I came home back to New York, and I graduated college, of course, and I moved to the meatpacking district into that 190 square foot fabulous palace that I showed you earlier. And there, I was already so, so independent, but I miss being around family. I miss the whole food thing. So what I did was I started to cook every night in my little tiny kitchenette. I mean, I think that actually the apartment had rats, but it was okay. So then I had my first job. And at my first job, I met my now husband. So I was 21 years old, and my husband was this import straight from the UK, and we really hit it off. Oh, that's a beautiful sear. Look at that. Nice and crispy. Oops. Now we want to sear this side for another 5 minutes. When our chicken is seared, we're going to take it out of the pan, and we're going to let it rest for a few minutes. We want to deglaze the pan with a little tiny bit of chicken broth, just scraping up any of the brown bits But be careful because it gets a little smoky, as you can see. So while that is deglazing off, we're gonna add in about a tablespoon of butter. And we're gonna start to sear the onions and the garlic. Not sear, sorry. We're gonna start to saute the onions and the garlic. And that's gonna be the base for the chicken. Once that's done, we're gonna put the chicken back in, the cranberry sauce, the balsamic, cover it, and it's gonna cook. So let's add our garlic and onions. Okay. Let's give it a little stir. So when the garlic and onions are in, you just wanna lower the heat a little bit so they don't burn. So they're sauteing and all that delicious chicken stuff, and honestly, it's gonna be so delicious. It's about 10 minutes on the oven for that. So I like to get a lot of the prep work out of the way. I hate rushing around the kitchen. Usually on any given night, I'm making the food. I'm also maybe feeding my daughter her dinner, my 1-year-old daughter Annalise her dinner. I am setting the dinner table for my husband. I'm totally multitasking. So I'm literally going to chop the mint now, even though it's for later. We're gonna use about, I would say, 1/4 cup of mint. That's gonna go on all the chicken. So I can tell you back to my story. So my husband and I, we obviously fell madly in love. I think that I swayed him through food. And now I think it was 5 apartments and 5 years later, we wound up eating and cooking and dining together every single night. We were soon to be married, and here we are 10 plus years later, and we're still in Manhattan, and we're living here with our daughter Annie, who's 1, and we're expecting our second baby on the way, and we're so excited. So I think that that's pretty much our love story, but I could tell you about my work. So by day, I pretty much have a go job. I work in digital media sales for a big financial firm right down here on Wall Street, and it's a lot of fun, but it's really stressful. So sometimes on really stressful days, I sneak out, don't tell my boss, and I go on mini food adventures. So it's really funny. I jump on the subway, maybe like any given day, I'll just hop on the subway, and I just need to de-stress. Maybe some women, they get manicures, they get pedicures. I want to walk around a market. I want to see what's around. So last week, I went to Chinatown. Now, think about how ridiculous this is. It's 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. I'm almost 7 months pregnant. I'm in a suit. I'm pounding the pavement on Chinatown to find the best red bean cake there is. And I found it, and it's delicious. Okay, so yesterday, my boss was really stressing me out, so I went to Italy, and I bought some vegetables for last night's dinner. And you know what? I actually have a funny story for you. One time, I was in a meeting, and a Brussels sprout rolled out of my bag. It's a true story. And everybody in the office was laughing, and we're like, why is there Brussels sprouts on the floor? And I blamed it on my 1-year-old daughter. I know, honestly, it's so terrible. I'm a horrible mother. But the truth be told is that I always have something delicious in my bag. So the 40 minutes is up. We are going to take it off the stove. Be careful. Put your oven mitts on. It's really heavy. I'm going to carry it over to the counter. Delicious. Now, I want to take a piece with a nice crust. Put it nice in the plate. You want to spoon some of the juices on it. Get some of the figs, the cranberries on there. Don't be afraid to make a mess. Like I said before, it's really not a big deal. You want the food just to taste good. We do not care if it looks a little crazy. We're going to sprinkle a little mint on it. Look at that, so nice. The mint is gonna add a little bit of freshness to this chicken dish. I love to sit and eat. I love when the food is actually an event. I wish my husband, Paul, and my daughter, Annie, could be here to join me, but they can't. So let's take the first bite. The figs, the cranberries. So good, so delicious. Absolutely scrumptious. You're gonna love this. So you can find this cranberry and fig balsamic chicken dish on my blog, HomeCookNYC.com. I'm Elise. Thank you for spending the day with me, and I hope to see you soon. Ciao!